I didn't hold anything back from you. Not my time, not my heart, not my sleep. I gave you the parts I should have kept, the ones that were meant for me. I thought love meant total surrender, no limits, no second thought. So I kept giving you everything until I forgot what I got. I didn't see the cost of it until I had nothing left. I gave everything I had to someone who gave me half. I kept pouring out forever into something that wouldn't last. I thought love was unconditional, but I lost myself in that. I gave everything I had and never got it back. You stopped noticing the effort because it was always there, and made consistency look easy, like I didn't need care. I became your comfort space, you're always open door, while quietly becoming someone you didn't see anymore. The more I gave without limit, the less I meant to you. I gave everything I had, every piece I didn't save. I kept calling it devotion while I slowly faded away. You never had to ask for more because I already gave too much. I gave everything I had and it still wasn't enough. I remember breaking quietly so you wouldn't feel the weight, smiling through my exhaustion, pretending I was okay. I thought if I loved you fully, you would finally do the same, but I was loving with my whole soul and you were playing a different game. I thought effort would be returned, but it only disappeared. I gave everything I had while you were letting go. I kept holding on to memories you no longer wanted to know. I made you my whole world while I became something less. I gave everything I had and got emptiness. Maybe I confused love with depletion. Maybe I thought pain was proof, but love shouldn't leave you empty when it's meant to grow you. Now I look at what's left of me and I don't even recognize the version I kept giving until there was nothing inside. I don't hate you for leaving, I just see it more clear. You didn't take it from me, I gave it away right here. These days I move differently, I don't offer everything away. I don't call imbalance love or accept it just to stay, because I finally understand what I ignored for so long. Giving everything you have can still be wrong. I gave everything I had and now I know the truth. Love isn't self-destruction, it shouldn't ruin you. I don't regret the feeling, I just regret the lack of care. I gave everything I had and I wasn't there. Next time, I'll keep something for myself. I kept thinking one more try would fix it, one more talk, one more night. I didn't see the point where love stopped feeling like it's right. I kept pushing past the silence, past the distance in your eyes. Like if I stayed a little longer, you would turn back into mine. But nothing changed, I just stayed long after I should've walked away. I didn't know when to stop, I kept going when it broke me. Kept calling it we're okay when it was slowly killing me. I mistook endurance for love, mistook pain for loyalty. I didn't know when to stop until there was nothing left of me. You stopped explaining your feelings, so I filled in all the gaps. Made excuses for your distance, like I was trained to do that. I kept lowering the standard every time you pulled away, until I was accepting nothing just to hear you say my name. I thought love meant staying longer, not realizing I was losing myself. I didn't know when to stop, I kept chasing your attention, even when it never felt like you were really present. I kept holding on to maybe while you were already gone. I didn't know when to stop, I just kept holding on. There were moments I could feel it, something ending in real time, but I ignored every instinct that was trying to save my mind. I thought if I changed enough things, you would finally come back through. But I was fixing something broken that was never meant to be you. The truth was always quiet, I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't know when to stop, so I stayed inside the damage, calling it a phase we're in instead of calling it abandonment. I kept drowning in the effort you were never meant to match. I didn't know when to stop, and now I can't go back. Maybe I confused devotion with refusing to let go. Maybe I stayed for answers that I already should've known. Some people don't come back, no matter how hard you try. And I kept searching for forever in something already goodbye. Now I see it all in fragments, like a film I can't rewind. Every moment I ignored myself just to keep you in my life. I wasn't losing you suddenly, I was losing you in parts. And I kept pretending pieces weren't falling from my heart. I'm learning there are limits to what love should have to take in. Staying past the breaking point was my only real mistake, because I didn't know when to stop, I just knew how to stay. And sometimes that's the reason people fade away. I didn't know when to stop until I became the ending, until every little try again. Stop pretending I gave too much of myself to something fading out. I didn't know when to stop, lessons don't arrive as answers, they arrive as loss. Every time something went wrong, I was the one searching for answers, trying to patch every crack between us before it became a disaster. I listened when you needed comfort, I stayed when things got hard. I kept rebuilding what was broken with tired hands and a hopeful heart. I thought if I worked a little harder, we could become what we used to be. I fixed what I could, I gave it everything I had. I carried all the weight I could carry when things got bad. I tried to save every piece of us from falling apart too soon. I fixed what I could, but I couldn't fix losing you. You stopped meeting me halfway, while I kept crossing every line, trying to keep us together, one sacrifice at a time. I ignored the way you drifted, ignored the space growing wide, because admitting we were ending felt harder than staying behind. I kept believing effort alone could somehow change your mind. I fixed what I could, every fight, every distance, every silence hanging between us, every sign of resistance. I poured all my energy into something already fading too. I fixed what I could, but I couldn't fix losing you. Some nights I blame myself for everything, even things that weren't mine, wondering if one more conversation could have changed the ending somehow. I replayed every memory, looking for mistakes to undo, but no amount of reflection could bring me back to you. The hardest truth was realizing love can't be repaired by one person. I fixed what I could while you slowly let go, while I kept watering flowers and soil that wouldn't grow. I was fighting for forever while you were passing through. I fixed what I could, but I couldn't fix losing you. Maybe some things break quietly without anyone meaning them to. Maybe some hearts grow apart even when the memories are beautiful. And maybe the saddest lesson is knowing you did your best and still watching it end. Now I don't chase the answers the way I used to do. I've stopped carrying responsibility for things I couldn't control. I know I wasn't perfect, but I know I truly tried. And there's a kind of peace in that, even when it hurts sometimes. These days I think about us differently, not with anger, not with blame. Two people wanting different things and learning that too late. I still miss parts of what we had, I probably always will, but I finally stopped trying to rebuild something standing still. I fixed what I could with every piece of strength faith I had, through every tear, every setback, every moment that felt bad. I gave this love my whole heart. There was nothing more I could do. I fixed what I could, and now I'm letting go of you. I fixed what I could, that's the truth I'll carry. Not every ending means failure. Not every goodbye is empty. Sometimes doing your best is all you're meant to do. I fixed what I could, but I couldn't fix losing you. And maybe that's okay now, because some things aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to be released. I spent so long focused on you, I stopped checking in on me. What I wanted, what I needed, slowly faded underneath. I adjusted every feeling so you could feel okay. And somewhere in all of that, I lost myself along the way. I thought love meant giving everything, but I forgot about me. I forgot what I needed while trying to make it work. I kept pouring into someone who never filled me back first. I learned your every silence while ignoring my own voice. I forgot what I needed and called it choice. I stopped asking simple questions like, am I alright? Because every part of my attention was always on your side. I became so used to fixing what was never mine to fix, that I didn't notice I was breaking. In the middle of all of this, I thought that being strong meant never thinking of myself. I forgot what I needed every time I stayed instead. Every time I put your feelings above my own instead. I kept believing love was selfless to the core. I forgot what I needed until I couldn't anymore. There were signs I chose to overlook, moments I let slide, not because I didn't feel them, but because I stayed polite. I didn't want to be too much, didn't want to cause a scene, so I silenced all my needs just to keep things in between. But silence has a cost, and I paid it in myself. I forgot what I needed while giving you my time. I thought love meant disappearing as long as you were fine. I didn't realize the emptiness is growing inside me. I forgot what I needed and lost my clarity. Maybe I thought love was sacrifice. Maybe I thought it had to hurt. But love shouldn't erase the person who is giving all their worth. Now I'm slowly remembering small things I pushed away, like rest, like space, like honesty, like how I used to work there. These days I listen closer to the quiet in my mind, to the parts of me I ignored for far too long a time. I'm learning I don't have to vanish to be loved or understood. I just needed to remember what I needed all along. I forgot what I needed, but I'm learning it again. Piece by piece, breath by breath, I'm finding me within. I don't have to disappear to make someone stay near. I forgot what I needed, but it's getting clear. And this time I won't forget myself again. I always answer right away, even when you took your time. I made excuses for your distance while ignoring what was mine. I gave attention when you needed it, gave patience when you disappeared. I kept pouring from my heart without noticing it was running thin. I thought loving harder would make you love me too. I gave more than needed, more than you ever asked for, more than my tired heart could really afford. I kept giving and giving while you kept taking quietly. I gave more than needed and forgot what I needed to. I changed my plans around you, made room for every maybe, waited through uncertainty like someday you'd finally choose me. I celebrated your victories while hiding my own pain, and every sacrifice felt small until they started adding up. The more I gave away, the less of myself remained. I gave more than needed, more understanding than respect, more chances than honesty, more forgiveness than regret. I kept treating temporary effort like something I should treasure. I gave more than needed and called it love forever. You never asked me to do it all, that's what makes it harder now. I volunteer my whole heart without thinking about the cost. I thought being selfless was romantic, thought devotion would be enough, but love shouldn't require someone to slowly disappear inside it. I was so focused on your happiness, I forgot to protect my own. I gave more than needed, every piece, every moment, every late night conversation, every ounce of emotion. I kept making you a priority while becoming an option myself. I gave more than needed and ended up feeling empty. Maybe the lesson wasn't to love less next time. Maybe it's learning that love should flow both ways, because a relationship isn't beautiful when one person gives everything and the other simply receives it. Now I look back differently at all the things I let slide, the effort that wasn't returned, the feelings I kept denying. I wasn't asking for perfection, I just wanted something 'cause I was afraid of losing you. These days I hold on to myself the way I once held on to you. I don't overextend my heart for people who wouldn't do it too, because love should feel shared, not earned through exhaustion. And I'm finally learning that I deserve the same care I give. I gave more than needed, more than anyone should have to. I carried hope for two people when one person stops wanting to. I don't regret loving deeply, I just regret forgetting myself. I gave more than needed, and that's why it hurt so much. I gave more than needed, but I won't make that mistake again. The next time love finds me, it'll meet me halfway then, because real love doesn't ask for one heart to do everything. I gave more than needed, now I'm choosing balance instead. I thought love meant giving everything. Now I know it also means keeping something for yourself. I woke up already tired of trying, like the weight never left my chest. I kept giving pieces of myself away until there was nothing left. I didn't notice when I started fading, it just happened over time. Every I'm fine I kept repeating was a quiet goodbye to mine. I thought I could keep going, but I was already gone inside. I had nothing left, no more words, no more fighting, no more hope to hold on to, no more quiet surviving. I gave you everything I could until I couldn't give anymore. I had nothing left, but I stayed anyway before. You never saw the ending coming, because I kept it all inside. I learned how to look okay for you while I was breaking at night. I stopped asking for attention, stopped asking to be seen, because somewhere in the distance I forgot what I used to need. I thought love meant endurance, but I didn't know this cost. I had nothing left, but I kept on pretending, kept holding conversations that were already ending. I stayed in something hollow just to not lose what we were. I had nothing left, and it still hurt. There were moments I should have left, but I didn't have the strength. Not because I still believed in us, but because I had no rest. Even walking away felt heavy, like I couldn't lift myself. I wasn't choosing you anymore, I just had nothing else. It wasn't love that kept me there, it was emptiness too deep. I had nothing left, not even anger or silence, just a slow kind of feeling that stopped responding. Maybe this is what it looks like when someone gives too much away. Not heartbreak in a moment, but disappearing day by day. Now I'm learning how to breathe again without carrying all that weight. Small things feel like healing. Even silence feels safe. I don't rush back into nothing just to feel like I belong, because having nothing left taught me where I went wrong. These days I rebuild slowly, not everything at once, just little parts of who I was, returning one by one. I don't need to be everything for someone who won't stay. I just needed to remember I exist beyond the pain. I had nothing left, but I'm learning to recover from the version of me that gave until there was nothing further. I don't wanna reach that ending ever again in my life. I had nothing left, but I survived. And somehow that's enough to start again. I was the only one still trying, the only one still calling it us, while you were slowly disappearing, like it didn't matter much. I held on to conversations that you had already left behind, and kept building future moments from memories I couldn't rewind. I didn't notice at first that I was the only one left. I held on alone through every quiet ending, through every one-sided promise that I kept pretending. I thought if I didn't let go, you'd eventually come back through. I held on alone while losing you. You stopped reaching for my heart, but I kept reaching for yours, like love was something I could earn by giving more and more. I filled every empty silence with hope you never returned, and called it being patient. While I slowly got hurt, I thought love meant endurance, not realizing it can break you too. I held on alone when you were already leaving, turning every fading moment into something I believed in. I carried all the weight of what we used to be. I held on alone while you let go of me. There were nights I almost told you how much I was falling apart, but I stayed quiet instead, so I wouldn't scare your heart. I smiled through every distance, like I wasn't breaking inside, because loving you meant hiding everything I needed to say. The saddest part of loving you was doing it by myself. I held on alone while you learned how to forget us. I kept stitching broken moments into something I call trust, but trust can't survive when no how one-sided it had grown, how I turned silence into effort just to not feel alone. I wasn't wrong for loving, I was wrong for staying still when everything inside me already knew the truth. It didn't will. These days I don't carry both sides, I don't fight what's already gone, because holding on alone forever was never love at all. And I'm learning that some endings don't need both people to fall. Sometimes one heart lets go first and the other loses it all. I held on alone until I had nothing left to give, until I finally understood what it means to really live. I thought I was saving something, but I was just holding pain. I held on alone, and I won't do it again. Love shouldn't feel like being the only one staying. The messages got shorter, the conversations felt rehearsed. You stopped telling me your secrets, stopped putting me first. I noticed every little difference, every change inside your eyes, but I kept telling myself everything would be alright. Deep down I knew something was changing, I just didn't want it to be true. I ignored the signs, every silence, every warning, every time your heart felt distant, every lonely morning. I kept choosing hope instead of seeing what was right in front of me. I ignored the signs because losing you scared me. You stopped reaching for my hand when we walked down familiar streets, and somehow being next to you started feeling incomplete. I felt the space between us growing a little more every day, but I convinced myself that love would find a way. I mistook your fading effort for a rough patch we could fix. I ignored the signs, the missed calls and excuses, the way you stopped saying I love you, the way you seemed distracted. I kept searching for old versions of you and someone already moving on. I ignored the signs long after they were obvious. My friends could see it clearly, they tried to tell me what was wrong, but I defended you every time and said they had it all wrong. Because admitting the truth would mean accepting the end, and I wasn't ready to lose my best friend. Sometimes denial feels safer than facing a heartbreak coming closer. I ignored the signs, every goodbye that felt colder, every promise that got weaker, every moment growing older. I stayed focused on memories while reality slipped away. I ignored the signs and watched us slowly realizing how long I knew I saw the storm on the horizon, and still prayed for clear skies. Looking back now, I can see the relationship had already changed. I was fighting for what we used to be while you were making peace with leaving. I kept believing effort could save us when feelings had already moved on. And that's a battle nobody wins, when only one heart holds on. Now I've learned to trust myself when something doesn't feel right. Stop calling pain commitment, and stop mistaking distance for love. Because the truth usually whispers before it finally screams. And I won't ignore my heart again, just to protect a dream. I ignored the signs until there was nothing left to ignore, until every unanswered feeling was standing at my door. I wanted us to last forever, but forever takes two people. I ignored the signs, and that's what broke me most. I ignored the signs, but I see them clearly now. And maybe that's the lesson I was meant to learn somehow. Sometimes love ends quietly before anyone says goodbye. I ignored the signs until I couldn't anymore. The signs were always there, I was just looking the other way. It didn't happen all at once. There was no breaking sound, just little pieces disappearing every time you let me down. I started saying less and less, started feeling less like me, until I became a version I barely recognized in me. I thought I was just adapting, but I was fading quietly. I lost myself slowly in the name of staying close. I kept giving up my voice for someone I love the most. I didn't notice the distance between who I was and who I became. I lost myself slowly and called it love in your name. I changed the way I spoke to you, softened every thought I had. I learned to hide my feelings so nothing ever turned bad. I became easier to handle, less of a problem, less of a fight. But in becoming what you wanted, I stopped being mine. The more I tried to keep you, the more I left myself behind. I lost myself slowly, with every compromise, with every moment I stayed quiet. When I wanted to ask why, I kept shrinking into silence, just to keep you from leaving too. I lost myself slowly, trying to belong to you. Even my thoughts started sounding like they weren't really mine, like echoes of your opinions, rewriting my mind over time. I didn't notice the takeover, because it felt like love at first. But love shouldn't erase you or make you feel worse. I thought losing myself was just what love required. I lost myself slowly while trying to keep you near. I stopped recognizing my reflection. Somewhere along the years I gave you all my energy until there was nothing left to give. I lost myself slowly just so this could live. Maybe I confused devotion with disappearing inside someone. Maybe I thought I had to vanish for love to feel like one. Now I see it more clearly, the moment it started to slip. How I traded self-respect for every little bit of attention, of approval, of moments that felt like care. But I was only half of me, standing nowhere. These days I speak a little louder, even when my voice still shakes. I don't shrink to make things easier. I don't bend until I break, because I finally understand what I couldn't see before. You can't be loved completely if you're gone at the core. I lost myself slowly, but I'm learning how to return piece by piece, breath by breath, from everything I learned. I thought I was just loving you, but I was losing who I am. I lost myself slowly. Now I'm finding myself again, and this time I'm not disappearing for anyone. I was always understanding, always finding reasons why you couldn't give me what I needed or look me in the eyes. I kept lowering my expectations every time you let me down, until loving me became optional and you barely came around. I thought patience would bring you closer, instead it taught you I would stay. I made it easier for you to take my love for granted, easier for you to disappear whenever things got complicated. I kept making room for you while you gave me less to hold on to. I made it easier for you and harder on myself. I answered every late reply like it didn't bother me, laughed off things that hurt my feelings just to keep the peace. I acted like I needed less so you wouldn't feel pressured, while secretly wishing you'd notice how much I was surrendering. The more I adjusted for you, the less you had to try. I made it easier for you to stop showing up completely, easier for you to stay distant while still keeping me. I gave you all the benefits of love without asking for much in return. I made it easier for you to slowly nights I sat awake, waiting for a simple message, telling myself not to overthink while feeling completely neglected. I kept defending your behavior to people who could clearly see that I was carrying this relationship almost entirely by myself. I wasn't asking for perfection, I was asking to be valued too. I made it easier for you by forgiving things too quickly, by accepting half-hearted effort when I deserved consistency. I kept calling it love when really it was survival. I made it easier for you to keep me while losing me. Somewhere along the way, I confused being understanding with abandoning my own needs. I thought love meant sacrifice, but love was never supposed to cost me my voice. Now I see how often I made excuses for your absence, how many times I settled for things I never wanted. I kept shrinking myself so you wouldn't feel uncomfortable, and ended up becoming someone I barely recognized anymore. These days I choose differently, I don't chase what isn't choosing me. I don't call neglect commitment or distance loyalty, because love should feel mutual, not like proving your value every day. And I'm finally learning that my heart deserves the same effort it gives. I made it easier for you, but I won't do that anymore. I won't teach someone that my love comes without care. I know what I offer, and I know what I deserve too. I made it easier for you until I finally chose myself. I made it easier for you to leave without consequences, but healing taught me something I won't forget again. The right person won't need me to make loving me convenient. For you, but never again. I spent so long making things easier for you. I forgot to make them easier for me. I kept talking through the silence, like you were still on the line. Even when your replies got colder, I told myself you were just tired of time. I stretched every small connection into something it wasn't anymore. While you were slowly pulling away, I kept knocking on your door. I thought distance was just space, not the start of letting go. I pushed through the distance, even when you didn't reach back. I kept sending all my feelings into the quiet you left black. I thought if I stayed consistent, you'd eventually come through. I pushed through the distance while it kept pulling me from you. I memorized your patterns, your moods, your disappearing days. I learned how to love you gently, so I wouldn't scare you away. But I was the only one adjusting, the only one reading the signs. You were already halfway gone, while I was still calling you mine. The more I reached across it, the further you felt away. I pushed through the distance like it was something I could nights I almost felt you in the space between my thoughts, like memory pretending presence, like love that hadn't stopped. But every time I reached for something real, there was nothing there to hold, just the echo of what we were, getting quieter as it rolled. I mistook fading for timing instead of what it really was. I pushed through the distance while you were already elsewhere. I kept loving what was missing, like you were still right there. I turned absence into effort, turned hope into disguise. I pushed through the distance and lost myself in trying. Maybe distance was your answer before you said goodbye, and I was just too scared to see it, so I kept it alive. Now I understand the silence. It wasn't something I could heal. It was you slowly becoming someone I couldn't reach or feel. I don't blame the space between us. I just wish I had known that some distances aren't meant to cross, they're meant to be left alone. These days I don't reach across it, I don't fight what won't respond. I let things stay where they ended instead of holding on too long, because love shouldn't feel like chasing through a void that doesn't care. And I'm learning not to cross bridges when no one's waiting there. I pushed through the distance until there was nothing left to try, until I finally understood some things are meant to die. I thought I could reach you if I just kept pushing through. I pushed through the distance, but I couldn't reach you. The space was never empty, it was just where you stopped being mine. I kept saying just a little longer every time I felt the break. I turned your silence into patience, your distance into fate. I thought love meant holding on, even when it starts to bend. So I stayed through every warning that I refused to understand. I didn't know there was a line until I crossed it every time. I stayed past my limit, past what my heart could take, past every quiet warning I chose to ignore and fake. I thought if I loved you harder, you'd finally love me right. I stayed past my limit and lost myself in the fight. You stopped trying without saying it, but I kept trying for two. I filled the empty space you made like it was something I could do. I called it loyalty and patience, but it felt more like decay. Watching pieces of me vanish every time you drifted away. I kept thinking we were healing while I was the only one still bleeding. I stayed past my limit when I should've let it end, when every part of me was breaking. wanted to leave, but I stayed instead, because silence felt safer than the truth in my head. I learned to shrink my feelings so you wouldn't feel the weight, and I called that understanding when it was self-erased. The hardest truth I've learned is I was the only one trying to save us. I stayed past my limit until I couldn't feel myself, until I became a version I never give anyone else. I kept hoping you would notice how much I was slipping through. I stayed past my limit, loving someone who didn't love me too. Maybe love shouldn't feel like survival. Maybe it shouldn't break you slow. Maybe staying wasn't strength at all, just fear of letting go. Now I see it in hindsight, every sign I pushed aside, every moment I ignored myself just to keep you in my life. I wasn't weak for staying, I was lost inside the idea that if I gave enough of everything, you'd finally appear. But people don't change because you suffer, they change when they decide. And I was the only one deciding to keep us alive. So now I'm learning limits, the ones I never had before, because love shouldn't destroy me just to prove it's something more. I stayed past my limit and I won't go back again. I see what I became when I kept calling it the end. I thought love meant endurance, but it was self-abandonment. I stayed past my limit, now I choose where I stand. Some loves don't end with goodbye, they end when you finally choose yourself. I was always there instantly, no matter what time you called. I made myself so reachable, you never had to miss me at all. I thought being consistent would make you feel secure, but I didn't realize I was teaching you I would always endure. I confused being needed with being taken for granted. I stayed too available, and you got used to me. I answered every silence like it was my responsibility. I made it too easy for you to come and go. I stay too available, now I know. You stopped trying to reach me because I was already there. I removed every distance that could have made you care. I replied before you missed me, I showed up before you tried, and slowly I became someone you never had to decide. The more I gave you access, the less you valued presence. I stayed too available, like I had nowhere else to be. I made myself an option you could use so casually. I thought love meant showing up without ever pulling it turned a habit. How my constant availability made my love feel automatic. You didn't have to wonder, you didn't have to miss. And maybe that's the reason you stopped feeling it. I made myself easy to reach, but hard to appreciate. I stayed too available and became replaceable. Not because I wasn't enough, but because I was always close. I gave you unlimited access to a heart you didn't protect. I stayed too available and felt the neglect. Maybe love needs space sometimes, not absence, just distance to breathe. Because constant presence can turn into something people stop to see. Now I don't answer so fast, I let silence sit a bit. Not to play games or punish, but to remember what I give. I learned I don't need to vanish just to be respected too. I just needed better boundaries than I had with you. These days I stay a little closer to myself instead of you. I don't confuse availability with something I should prove, because love shouldn't feel like being on call all the time. It should feel like being chosen, not just always fine. I stayed too available and forgot my own worth. I made myself so present, I stopped feeling like I was hurt. But I'm learning now slowly what healthy love should be. I stayed too available, now I choose me. Not always there, just where I'm respected. I noticed the distance before you said a thing. Before the silence settled in, you stopped laughing at my stories, stopped asking how I'd been. We still look like we were together from the outside looking in. But every day I felt you leaving, even though you hadn't left yet. I told myself it was temporary, just a season we would get through. But deep inside I knew something was changing inside of you. I stayed when it hurt, I stayed through every warning, through every lonely evening, through every broken morning. You were slowly moving on while I was holding on to us. I stayed when it hurt, because I thought love was enough. You stopped reaching for my hand first, stopped saying my name the same. The little things became reminders that nothing felt unchanged. I kept finding reasons for you, kept defending what you did, while ignoring how exhausted my own heart had started feeling. Every time I almost left, you gave me just enough hope, and I kept mistaking small moments for proof that we could still work. I stayed when it hurt, when every conversation faded, when every promise sounded weaker, when every effort felt weighted. I kept trying to save something you were no longer fighting for. I stayed when it hurt and gave more than before. There were nights I cried beside you without making a single sound, because I knew if I explained it, you'd somehow turn it back around. I started feeling lonely, even when you were close to me. And that's the kind of heartbreak that nobody else can see. I missed you before you left me. That's the truth I couldn't face. I was grieving what we were becoming, while still begging you to stay. I stayed when it hurt, through every unanswered feeling, through every silent dinner, through every slow retreat. And you were already halfway gone, while I was still believing us. I stayed when it hurt, because giving up felt worse. Looking back, I see it clearly. I was carrying both our hearts, trying to pull us toward forever while we were falling apart. I thought loyalty could fix things. I thought patience could heal pain. I thought if I loved you harder, you would love me back the same. But love isn't measured by how I'm suffering. You survive, and staying isn't always straight. Sometimes it's fear disguised. I spent so long protecting us that I forgot protecting me. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I lost who I used to be. Now the room feels different lately, not because you're finally gone, but because I'm learning how to live without waiting for your call. Some nights still feel heavy, some memories still cut deep, but healing started the moment I stopped choosing pain over peace. I stayed when it hurt, long after I should have left it, long after every signal told me not to accept it. I gave you every chance I had, every piece of trust and love. I stayed when it hurt, but now I've had enough. I stayed when it hurt, and maybe that's what broke me. But what can always save me from becoming someone lonely? You were the lesson I never wanted but needed all along. I stayed when it hurt, now I'm finally moving on. For the longest time, I thought leaving and losing, but sometimes leaving is the first way you start finding yourself again. I stayed through every hard conversation, every distance, every doubt. I thought if I loved you hard enough, we would always work things out. When you pulled away, I leaned in. When you went quiet, I spoke up. I kept giving more of myself. I thought effort was enough. I thought effort was enough to keep your heart from leaving. I thought fighting for us both would give us something to believe in. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make you want us. I thought effort was enough, but love needs two people. You stopped showing up the same, while I kept showing up more. I carried all the weight between us until I couldn't anymore. I kept fixing every problem, you kept creating new ones, And somehow I still believed that effort could outrun distance. I thought effort was enough to keep us from breaking apart. I gave you every piece of me, every corner of my heart. But love can't grow by itself when only one person waters it. I thought effort was enough. I was wrong about that. Looking back, the signs were obvious. I just didn't want them true. I confused my dedication with something coming from you. I kept waiting for the moment you'd finally meet me halfway, but that moment never came, and I stayed anyway. Some people leave slowly before they ever walk away, and some hearts stop choosing you long before they say it. I thought effort was enough, but effort can't create feelings. It can't rebuild a love someone already stopped needing. I did everything I could, and maybe that's the hardest part. I thought effort was enough to save us from the ending. Now I know love takes effort, but effort alone isn't love. I used to think love was effort, showing up when it got hard, staying when it didn't feel easy, even when it broke my heart. So I kept trying to fix things that were already drifting away, believing if I worked a little more, you would choose to stay. I didn't know love could fade, no matter what I gave. I thought love was effort, so I gave you everything, every piece, every moment, every part of me. I kept trying to earn forever from someone halfway gone. I thought love was effort, but I was wrong all along. You stopped meeting me emotionally, but I kept showing up the same. I thought consistency could save us if I never changed my pace. I ignored how tired I was, how one-sided it became, because I believed devotion could somehow fix your name. But love doesn't grow from pressure, it grows when two hearts remain. I thought love was effort, so I stayed beyond my limit, turning every quiet distance into something we could fix it. But you were already leaving while I kept building us alone. I thought love was effort, now I know it's something more. I confused survival with romance, endurance with being strong. I thought the one who tries the hardest is the one who can't be wrong. But love isn't just persistence, it's not suffering just to not lose you. The truth was always simple, I just didn't want it to be true. I thought love was effort, but effort can't create feeling. It can't hold on to someone who's already stopped believing. I gave you all my trying, while you slowly let me go. I thought love was effort, now I finally know. Maybe love was never meant to feel like I was earning it. Maybe I was just afraid to accept what I was learning in it. That real love doesn't drain you or leave you feeling small. It doesn't ask you to become nothing at all. Now I see it in the quiet, how much I was holding on, how I built an entire future on a feeling already gone. I don't blame myself for loving, I just understand it now. Love isn't about how hard you fight, it's about how it feels somehow. These days I move differently, I don't chase what doesn't stay. I don't confuse exhaustion with a love that's meant to pay. Because I've learned the hardest truth in a soft and silent way. You can give your whole heart fully and still not make someone stay. I thought love was effort, so I gave it all I had. But love isn't something you force or something you can drag back. It's not about how much you try, it's about what's really true. I thought love was effort, now I know it's too. And I finally understand. Love shouldn't feel like proving you deserve it. I stayed up waiting for your message long after I should have been asleep, telling myself you were just busy while disappointment settled deep. I kept showing up with all my love in ways I thought you'd understand. But somehow all the things I gave slipped right through your hands. I never asked for much from you, just to see what I was trying to do. I thought you'd notice the way I always stayed, the way I kept choosing you, even on the hardest days. I thought you'd notice how much of me was yours, but you got so used to my love, you stopped seeing it at all. I remembered every detail, every story that you told, the things that made you smile, the things that made you fold. I paid attention to your heart like it was something delicate, while mine sat quietly waiting to be cared for the same way. I kept hoping one day you'd realize what you had. I thought you noticed every sacrifice I made, every time I swallowed hurt just to keep the peace in place. miss it forever. Maybe that's what hurt the most, not that we fell apart, but how normal it became for you to overlook my heart. I wasn't asking for applause or some grand appreciation. I just wanted to feel seen inside the relationship. It's lonely being loved for what you give instead of who you are. I thought you noticed the tears I never showed, the nights I carried everything. When the weight became too much, I thought you noticed how exhausted I had become. But you only saw my strength, never the damage underneath it. I made loving you look easy, so you never saw the effort I made. Stay and look natural, so you never feared losing it. And maybe that's why you didn't realize my value until I stopped giving it away. Now I understand something. People don't always notice devotion, especially when it's constant, especially when it's expected. And I spent too much time waiting for recognition that never came, instead of recognizing my own worth. These days I save my energy for people who pay attention, for people who see kindness without needing it explained. Because the right person won't overlook the love standing beside them. They won't need a goodbye to realize what they had. I thought you'd notice the way I loved you completely, the way I stayed loyal, the way I chose you repeatedly. I thought you'd notice before it was too late to care. But some people only realize your value when you're no longer there. I thought you'd notice, but maybe that was never your role. Maybe my mistake was waiting for someone else to validate my soul. I know what I gave, and I know what it was worth. I thought you noticed, now I notice it myself. I spent so long waiting to be seen, I forgot I could see myself. I told myself I wouldn't call again, but missing you got louder at night. Your hoodie still hangs by my bed, like you're coming back someday. I keep replaying little moments, trying to make your silence change. We used to talk until sunrise, now you barely say my name. And every room feels colder since your love faded away. I try one more time, one more, can we fix this? One more sleepless night, hoping you will listen. I gave you every soft part of me, but you were already distant. I tried one more time and lost myself in it. You stopped holding me the same, your touch felt unfamiliar. I noticed all the small things first, the space between us growing bigger. I kept blaming myself quietly for problems you never solved, while you kept drifting somewhere else and left me here alone. I tried one more time, through every cold goodbye, through every empty promise, through every night I cried. I stayed when my heart knew you were leaving slowly inside. night feels heavier. Your memory fills the dark. Sometimes I still reach for my phone before reality hits hard. I hate that I still miss you after everything you did. But love doesn't disappear fast when you gave someone everything. Maybe I loved you deeper than you ever loved me. Maybe I stayed too long, hoping you become who you used to be. I tried one more time, one last chance for us, one last broken prayer, one last piece of trust. But love can't stay alive when only one heart holds on. I tried one more time, now I'm learning to let go. I still think about you sometimes, just not the way I used to. I tried to be what you needed, even when I didn't know what that was. I kept changing pieces of myself just to keep your love from falling apart. I smiled through things that hurt me so you wouldn't feel the weight. I thought if I stayed soft enough, you'd choose to stay. I didn't see I was disappearing while trying to be enough for you. I tried to be enough in every way I could. I gave you more than I had, like it was something I should. But no matter what I became, it never felt like it was true. I tried to be enough, but I wasn't for you. I learned your moods like weather, your silence like a language I speak. I adjusted every reaction so you wouldn't pull away from me. I made myself smaller slowly, thinking that would make you stay. But love shouldn't require losing who you are along the way. The more I try to fit your world, the less I fit myself. I try to be enough, but I kept falling short. Not because I didn't love you, but because love shouldn't hurt. I was bending into versions that I couldn't recognize. I tried to be enough while you said goodbye. There were nights I blamed my silence for things I didn't cause. I thought if I fixed myself better, you would finally see us. But I was fixing something that was never mine to heal, and losing pieces of my heart I didn't even feel. I thought becoming better would make you want me more. I tried to be enough while you were letting go. I kept giving all my effort to a heart I couldn't hold. And somewhere in that trying, I forgot what I deserved. Maybe I was never the problem. Maybe I just wasn't chosen, and there's a difference I needed to learn slowly. Now I see it more clearly. It wasn't something I lacked, it was someone who couldn't give what I kept giving back. I don't hate what I became, I just wish I understood that love isn't about becoming enough. It's about being understood. These days I don't change myself to earn someone's attention. I don't shrink to fit a space that never had intention. Because I finally see the truth I couldn't see before. You don't have to be enough for someone who already wants more. I try to be enough, but I see it now so clear. You can give your whole heart and still not be kept near. It wasn't my failure, it was just the truth in you. I tried to be enough, but I was never meant to. Maybe the real ending was me stopping trying to become someone else. I kept checking my phone like it meant something, like silence wasn't the answer already. I told myself you were just busy living while I was stuck waiting empty. Every hour felt like maybe you'd finally come back through. But the truth I didn't want to face was you weren't coming to. I kept turning nothing into hope, just to keep myself from letting go. I waited without reason for a message that never came, for a sign you still remembered, for a reason you'd say my name. I kept believing in soon while you were already gone. I waited without reason for a love that moved on. I replayed our last conversation like it had a different end, searching for some hidden meaning that could still pretend that we were just misunderstood. Not slowly falling apart, but every replay only showed me you were already halfway gone from my heart. The hardest part was pretending that waiting was still love. I waited without reason, every night, every day, convincing myself your silence was just something you couldn't say. I stayed loyal to a moment you had already left behind. I waited without reason, losing pieces of my mind. My friends stopped asking questions, they already knew the truth, but I defended every absence like I had something to prove. I thought patience made me stronger, thought devotion meant I'd win, but I was just standing still while you were moving on within. I didn't realize waiting can also be letting yourself disappear. I waited without reason for a door that stayed closed, for a voice that never called me, for love that never showed. I kept building hope for nothing, like it meant something real. I waited without reason while forgetting before I felt it. Now I see all the stillness wasn't temporary at all. It was the shape of you leaving before you made the fall. And I stayed in that silence like it was part of our story, but it was just me holding on to someone already gone from me. These days I don't wait like before. I don't count empty time. I don't turn absence into answers or pretend silence is a sign, because waiting without reason taught me something I now know. Love doesn't leave you guessing when it actually wants to grow. I waited without reason until I finally understood. You don't have to chase closure when it was never good. I gave my time to nothing, thinking it would turn to truth. I waited without reason, but I'm done waiting for you. Some wait stone